Good, happy Saturday morning, May 2nd, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Saturday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Saturday morning, so let's begin. First up, officials announced 9 more deaths attributed to COVID-19 in New Hampshire. All new deaths were connected to long-term care facilities in New Hampshire, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Let's pray. As we all hunker down in these tough times, there's still work to be done. And Mahindra.
And Adam, New Hampshire is seeing its highest single-day total for new cases at 164. But despite that, health officials are optimistic about the numbers. And that's because with more testing, the numbers are expected to remain on kind of a plateau here. But the state says there are early signs of a slow decrease in community transmission and daily hospitalizations. Health officials say the vast majority of patients in hospitals are non-COVID related, adding that facilities have been able to manage potential capacity issues. But the older and more vulnerable population continues to remain a major concern. 9 new deaths were announced today, all of them in long-term care facilities.
It still highlights the ongoing work that we have to do to protect those in long-term care and nursing facilities, in congregate living settings, where these outbreaks are really devastating.
And now as parts of the economy start to slowly reopen, Dr. Chan says it is so important to continue to socially distance, or if you can't, then wear a face covering. Reporting live in Concord, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your COVID-19 in New Hampshire information, what you need to know. Let's take a look. There are 2,310 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 1,091,38 number of people in the United States who have tested positive. 81 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 270 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And 64,203 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. This map of New Hampshire right here shows you where cases of COVID-19 are in towns and cities of New Hampshire. In Derry, 200 cases of COVID-19. In this chart right here, new cases each day in New Hampshire. In the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations, and in the red are the deaths. In this chart here, current cases. In the purple, total current COVID-19 cases, and in the orange, current hospitalizations. In this chart here, cumulative totals. In the purple, total positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, total hospitalizations. In the red, deaths. And in the blue, recovered. This chart here shows you age group. This chart here shows you sex, female and male. And this chart here shows you risk information. This chart here shows you race/ethnicity of cases. And this chart here shows you percent of New Hampshire population. And your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, and difficult breathing. How it spreads, and prevention tips. Be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Outdoor dining Haircuts, camping allowed with restrictions under new order. New stay-at-home order allows some businesses to reopen if they take COVID-19 precautions. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Some work can't stop because our communities need you, which is why we're working to keep you working, to help you keep homes and properties maintained, your farm running, and construction moving. Your work is essential.
It's called Stay at Home 2.0, an attempt to safely reactivate parts of New Hampshire's economy that have been under COVID-19 restriction. Public health officials will be watching closely to see if the moves unleash a new wave of infections.
It could be 2, possibly up to 3 weeks before we would see an increase if one was going to happen.
Starting right away, campgrounds will be restricted to only New Hampshire residents, and towns will be empowered to close their public campgrounds. On May 4th, hospitals will be allowed to resume certain time-sensitive care procedures like MRIs or CT scans and certain procedures for chronic pain and medical testing. On May 11th, golf courses will be allowed to reopen with restrictions. Participation will be limited to New Hampshire residents and members of private clubs. Use of clubhouses will be prohibited. Also on May 11th, barbers and hair salons will be allowed to reopen, serving customers by reservation only with limited open chairs and PPE required. And on May 11th, retail will be allowed to reopen with 50% occupancy and PPE for employees. Restaurants will get their shot at a very limited reopening on May 18th. Takeout services will be augmented by outdoor seating only. Tables must be 6 feet apart, seating no more than 6 people per table, and servers must wear face coverings.
We're just not at the point where we're comfortable allowing the indoor seating just yet, but that's probably a next step, hopefully in the near future.
In terms of the virus itself, today public health officials announced they're starting to see some positive trends in the data related to this pandemic, even as the death toll in long-term care facilities continues to add up.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker signs order requiring face coverings while in public. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
At New England Dental Group, we use the latest innovations to provide affordable dental implants, specializing in the all-on-4 solution for a completely new smile. Call today about your dental implants. New England Dental Group, all your dental experts at one location.
Good afternoon. This is one of those places, the Boston Public Garden, where wearing a mask might be required sometimes under the governor's orders, but not other times. For example, on this cold, dreary spring day, the park was not too busy earlier today at least, and joggers and strollers could easily keep the required 6 feet apart. Still, maybe about 80% of the people we saw were wearing masks. Come this weekend, however, with nicer weather in the forecast, the park will draw bigger crowds, and keeping a distance will likely be more difficult.
I think for now it's a good thing. I mean, I don't mind wearing it. So I just think whatever will make this pass faster is probably the right move.
When I'm out, I have a cloth one too, and I'm like suffocating and I get all sweaty and stuff. That's why I don't really like to wear it, but I do keep it handy for when I have to.
The Make Way for Duckling sculpture already has masks, so do some of the larger statues in the public garden. So far, we have not seen any signs telling people about this new mask requirement. Live in Boston, David Beanick, WCVB News Center 5.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. 2 new coronavirus-related deaths, 28 new cases reported in Maine. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
giving the class of 2020 recognition they deserve. Channel 8 Senior Shoutouts.
Well, right now we do have the latest numbers from the Maine CDC. 28 new cases reported today, bringing our total to 1,123. There are now 411 active cases in Maine. Sadly, 2 more people have died, bringing that total to 55.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Joe Biden denies sexual assault allegations. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
In the race for 2020 tonight, Joe Biden this evening breaking his silence after an accusation of sexual assault. And President Trump today saying about Biden, in a way, I'm sticking up for him. Here's Mary Bruce.
Addressing the allegations of sexual assault for the first time publicly, Joe Biden today with an emphatic denial.
Would you please go on the record with the American people? Did you sexually assault Tara Reid?
No, it is not true. I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened. And it didn't. It never happened.
Tara Reid was a staff assistant in Biden's Senate office in 1993 when she says he assaulted her. She's detailed the alleged incident in interviews with ABC News and other outlets, including Democracy Now!
I was up against the wall, and I remember his hands underneath my blouse and underneath my skirt, and his fingers penetrating me as he was trying to kiss me, and I was pulling away.
Reid tells us that at the time she complained to the Senate Personnel Office that Biden had, quote, made her feel uncomfortable. But she says she did not mention an assault, and she has no record of the complaint. She says she shared similar concerns with 3 other staffers in Biden's office. All 3 of those staffers tell ABC News that's not true. Biden prides himself on being an advocate for women's rights and is adamant that women should be heard. Today, he was pressed on why this complaint against him is different.
Women are to be believed given the benefit of the doubt. And there's so many inconsistencies in what has been said in this case. So you just look at the facts. And I assure you, it did not happen.
Biden is now calling for any record of the complaint to be released.
So I'm asking the Secretary of the Senate today to identify whether any such document exists. If it does, make it public.
But he says he will not make public his Senate papers housed at the University of Delaware.
They don't contain any personnel files. They're public records.
Reid's allegations have been heavily promoted by President Trump's campaign, but today the president seemed to come to Biden's defense.
I guess in a way you could say I'm sticking up for him.
The president, who has been accused by multiple women of sexual assault, including rape, says his rival may be falsely accused.
I would just say to Joe Biden, just go out and fight it.
And Joe Biden has just sent a letter to the Senate officially asking that they search for any alleged complaint and that they make public what they find, including any complaint and all of the related documents. David.
All right, Mary Bruce, our thanks to you again tonight.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for watching this morning edition. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.